Support for Digging Deeper comes from the Penn State Alumni Association, connecting alumni to the university and to each other. The Alumni Association is powered by pride. Learn more at alumni.psu.edu. And from viewers like you, thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert Johnson. With spring finally here, many people are looking for ways to enjoy the outdoors. Shavers Creek Environmental Center offers visitors a chance to explore the Stone Valley Forest, see animals native to Pennsylvania, and engage in conservation and education programs. On this episode of Digging Deeper, Penn State President Eric Barron talks with Mark McLaughlin, Director of the Shavers Creek Environmental Center, and Jason Beal, Animal Care Program Director.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I personally love Shavers Creek, but just in case there are people out there that are listening that don't know or never been there, what is it?
Great question. We're glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us. The Shavers Creek Environmental Center is in the middle of Stone Valley Recreation Area, which is in the middle of Penn State's Experimental Forest, which is about 12 miles from State College. We're on the Huntington County side of the line, so if you take Route 26 south of town. And it's a wonderful complex that is managed by the entire university. It's bordered with Whipple Dam State Park forest lands and Rothrock State forest lands. So it's a middle of a forest complex that's just beautiful. Our center, it looks like to most people a nature center. And so to come and visit, it looks like you're walking into a state park-like visitor center, although recently remodeled, looks pretty sparkly and new compared to most other places. And it's a wonderful facility for recreation and, of course, a lot of education as well.
So there's Whipple, there's Stone Valley Forest, you're kind of a gateway there. Is that a gateway? Is that the right way to say it? Are people going from you off into the woods, or
they are?
Or is it just in the middle?
All the above. We are right in the middle. If you imagine Lake Perez is the center of this complex, and we are right on the shores of Lake Perez. And so operating much like a visitor center for a park, we are a welcoming spot where people can get information and maps as well as education materials. And from there, they can be taking trails literally across the state. So our trail system is in excess of 20 miles and connects then with the Mid-State Trail, which of course then will cross the entire state of Pennsylvania, which easily connects then to the Appalachian Trail if you want to go up and down the entire East Coast. And so it's a wonderful spot for whether it be hiking trails or biking in our forests and our forest roads. And so it is indeed a gateway, is a great way to look at it.
So people will come and park and take their bikes and go for a ride, or park and hike, not just visit you? Indeed.
From our spot, you can connect with all the trails in that whole area. It's indeed a good central hub to start for many of those adventures.
So, you know, in the early 1900s, people used to walk from Old Main to Rothrock and to the trails. So what you're suggesting, that you could walk all the way to Stone Valley?
You can. You can.
And Shavers Creek, huh?
Yeah. Well,
it's just a long walk.
That it is. But between our trail systems that go up through Mustard Gap and areas like that, it's going to be a nice way to connect. And so some of those trails are already there. It's just a matter of connecting the dots.
And by bike, that would be quite interesting. I'm going to have to try this as a new way to come visit Shavers Creek. Well, so you used an interesting word. You said it's someone who came in would look like they were in one of these nature centers. Is in fact that really what's there?
Indeed, we are a nature center, and we just went through a $7.5 million renovation. And so our nature center per se, the main building is completely renovated and looks a lot like a nature center. But we have a little bit more out back that
you wouldn't find in a typical nature center.
You wouldn't. I'll let Jason explain that.
Well, you'll find our Raptor Center. And so the Raptor Center is part of the broader animal care program at Shavers Creek. So we have amphibians and reptiles in the brand new Litziger Discovery Room. and so native species there, and then non-releasable raptors such as eagles, hawks, owls, falcons, and vultures up for people to experience up close, ask questions of the staff, and get to see them engage in a variety of different behaviors.
And this is rehabilitation?
No, actually, we were a rehabilitation site up until 1995.
Right.
But then we made the decision to focus on education, really, as our mission. Yep.
So if I see one of these raptors, how long have they been there?
It varies. Two of our birds, one of our birds came in 1990. We have another bird that's also 29 years old as well. But the rest of them, late 90s, mid 2000s, and if all goes well, we'll be picking up a new falcon this week.
And so how do you end up with a bird to pick up?
So what we do is we develop a close relationship with different rehabilitation organizations, knowing that these birds can live for decades in captivity. One of the things we want to do is make sure we're selecting birds that have disabilities that we think will allow them to live and thrive in human care, since taking an animal from a wild situation, seeing people and kids running around, we want to make sure that they're...
But these birds wouldn't survive in the wild.
No. So typically, flight ability, some of our birds are flighted, but not well enough to survive on their own. They may be missing an eye, so depth perception for hunting would be a major concern for them.
And this is your job, taking care of them?
Yep, in part. I have a wonderful staff that really bears most of that bird.
So how many raptors are there?
Currently 15.
And why did you decide on raptors?
I guess that's a question back for our history, but in 1981, a red-tailed hawk was brought to us by the Game Commission named Beauty, and that's a play on the words of Buteo, which is what a red-tailed hawk is. And she was apparently blind in both eyes, but thus began the Raptor Center at Shavers Creek. The rehabilitation program grew out of that, and then the education program really kind of ran from there once we stopped doing rehabilitation.
Now, for anyone who knows what Shavers Creek is like by visiting in the past, perhaps when their kids were young and hasn't been there for a while, what's the difference for the animal programs now with new facilities and old?
The biggest changes would be looking at kind of the zoo and aquarium field and how that has evolved. And so with Penn State's IACUC, the Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee, we work very closely with them to identify what do our animals need to succeed from a welfare standpoint and to be educational ambassadors. And so in general, more spaces, bigger spaces, more opportunities to either seek the elements or avoid them, areas for nest platforms, whatever we can do to kind of simulate the structures and access that they'd have in the wild is really kind of our goal.
So is this a research project in some ways on how to do this, or you know how to do it?
Well, we're learning still, and one of the things we're fortunate is Raptor Centers in general have only been around about 50 years or so, and so with many of these birds living for decades, we're now just at that point we're getting a lot of information about how we can do things better and what's worked at other facilities. So we did quite a bit of site interviews throughout the country as part of this design process. And with the resources at Penn State, it really allowed us to kind of dream big and do something that we now have other facilities coming out and looking at us and say, how did you do that? Or what would you recommend? So it's kind of neat to see that circle.
So someone comes in to Shavers Creek, and this is a big draw, I imagine, to be able to be up close and personal with these really rather remarkable birds. Other programs and activities too that they would?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Much of our programming is being led by our students. And so we have a full-time staff that coordinates much of this. But all year round, we are providing programs, whether it be on weekends and just simple 1 to 2 hour types of programs, to our festival programs in the fall and the spring. We have a March Maple Harvest Festival and a fall Enchanted Halloween Trail and Festival. And those are big events. But then on an almost daily basis during the summer, we have programming going on. Our summer camp programs are wonderfully popular and fills our site very, very fully Monday through Friday during the weeks of summer for our day camps.
So give me some examples of programs that would be an hour or two on the weekend versus something that's a longer camp program.
We're doing a current series with one of our interns who has put together for us a series of 5 programs that's looking at the benefits, all the health benefits that you can possibly imagine coming out of the outdoors. And so whether it be the new terms of forest bathing or more of the more traditional outdoor recreational activities like mountain biking, we're highlighting those over the course of the past couple of weeks with one more coming up this weekend. As well as traditional crafty things, arts and crafts like programs too for family-oriented groups, as well as an animal programming. We'll try to do weekend-oriented animal program every Saturday and Sunday, starting very soon. I forget the
June
date.
15th.
Thank you.
So.
So that'd be something that's happening on every Saturday and Sunday.
Just for kids?
The weekend programming, the creek programs are for anybody. And so we're talking about any of our animal ambassadors.
And so a lot of adults show up?
Absolutely.
Because they want to understand all the different uses and benefits of the forest, huh?
That's for sure. It's so true. And with so many stories to share. And
should I ask you what forest bathing is?
I'm still wondering what forest bathing is too at
Okay.
times. Yeah, it's immersing ourselves into the forest and then really mindfully and purposefully seeking the benefits of those kinds of experiences and realizing it is calming, it is soothing, or whatever it is that you are striving to get out of that experience, to do it purposefully. Something that we all have done unconsciously. Well, what if we tried to do it a little bit more consciously?
Yeah, interesting.
It is interesting. It's a new way of looking at
It makes a lot of sense to me because there are many times I go for that quiet walk somewhere where you just have that stillness and light.
Indeed.
It's very different.
Many of us have learned to recharge that way. And some people haven't and didn't realize that's a way to
recharge.
Yeah, it is. And so there's more and more interest in that these days.
So has the renovation, I think the amount was about 7.5 million or something like that. So has the renovation also impacted how you're doing programming, or how many people, or what's been the impact of the renovation on the programs and activities?
Yeah, the impact's been immediate. It's been wonderful. Not only is it better homes for our animals that are living there full-time on site, but it's allowing us to handle a lot more people at a time. And so with our increased classroom spaces, we can have programs going on in these 2 different classrooms at the same time as hosting the drop-in visitors and potentially hosting the school group that's on site as well. And as the term we used to say, they're not crashing into each other on the site anymore. We're able to spread out and really maximize the site for what it can be for so many people at one time. And that's been the real benefit.
As you know, the leadership of the university had a retreat. It was wonderful space to be out there and to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the animals again for a minute, because I all of a sudden realized that there are also snakes in that. And you know, that is sort of one of those things where I think children and adults are a little bit like this. So all behind glass, or?
A bit of both, and to kind of take a step back, talking about serving children through all ages, I think one of the great things that Shavers Creek does is, for many people that didn't grow up in the forests, in the fields, it provides really that kind of safe introduction to make them feel comfortable with, buildings and things that look normal, but then to start get those feet into the landscape, or maybe see an animal they've heard about, maybe only stories from, grandfather or something who may not have had accurate information, and allows us to really maybe change the narrative of what they've heard those animals and slowly approximate them closer to the point where they may see a snake right up close and maybe even touch it and realize that, no, it's not slimy.
It isn't, yeah.
And really that's our job as educators, is to ideally change behaviors in people, get them thinking differently and engaging in conservation action.
So for a typical child, would you be handling a snake?
It really varies on how many people are there and kind of the situation. So we're doing a lot more impromptu programming. So there's a family that's spending a lot of time around our reptile and amphibian exhibit. One of our staff members will hear them out there, will pop out, and depending on what they're doing, may have a snake. Especially if we hear some things like, "Ooh, I wonder what it feels like," or "I wonder," if we hear an opportunity for us to really educate, then we want to be right on that.
How wonderful is that in a lot of ways, that there's someone who's showing interest, so you amplify it if you can.
Yeah, and to touch base on what Mark said, a lot of our students doing the programs with animal care and many of our programs, we have a very vigorous volunteer involvement from our students at the university as well as Juniata College. And that gives them a great opportunity to, I mean, they're out and about all the time, so they see people, the people are asking questions. And I think those personal connections, those conversations that happen really might have the greatest impact rather than just us getting up and sharing a few facts here and there. But that personal touch, I think, is really something that creates that relationship with the community at Shavers Creek.
Mm-hmm. I remember once in high school that there was a snake for an exhibit and people were handling it. Can't remember what it was, and for some reason my family got to keep the snake for the night because someone had to.
Yeah.
And I think my parents put it in the bathtub and it was gone in the morning. And it was wrapped around a radiator right by my mother's head.
Right.
Is where we discovered it was sort of an interesting experience where there is sort of a hesitancy there. So wonderful to remove some of that hesitancy, especially if someone is interested. So is that also part of exhibits that are there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so what types of exhibits do you focus on?
Do you mean the non-animal exhibits or the animal?
Well, if you have both,
okay.
You know.
So with the animal exhibits, what we're trying to do is, once again, kind of share how they're interacting with the environment. So we just took in an eastern hellbender, which is Pennsylvania state amphibian as a couple weeks ago. And that animal is one that likes to spend a lot of time under rocks or hiding. So we had an intern take a PVC pipe and dress it up so it looks like a fallen log. And the hellbender spends a lot of time in there.
You can still see it.
With little windows.
Nice.
Our big balance is always, we want to make sure that the animal's, visible and people can learn, but balancing that welfare of the animal and making sure it's comfortable. So with our snakes and turtles, great places to bask, or once again, to get under some cover if they want to cool off.
Yeah. So were you surprised at that as a choice of the state amphibian?
I was very excited. Actually,
you were.
This has been in discussion for about a year and a half or so, and so that was one of the narratives we used when we went to acquire this animal. It'd be a great opportunity to kind of share this neat part of Pennsylvania and how they are indicators of clean water.
That's fantastic. So one of the other things that you've said is your students. So these are Penn State students?
They are.
And they're in what programs?
A lot of different programs.
A lot of different programs.
Indeed. We're currently in the classrooms for 6 different colleges currently. And so helping to deliver classroom content to those different classes, as well as Jason and the animals are probably guest speakers in countless other spaces. And so we're probably present in almost all the colleges during the course of any one academic year. Mm-hmm. The students that we are actually doing a little bit more of the hands-on teaching.
That you call your students as opposed to a classroom.
Indeed, would be our Recreation Park Tourism Management Department. We work a lot with them. There's an environmental interpretation and park management focus there, of which we're a great field lab for, to get their hands quite literally wet and dirty on that. As well as then some of the other programming that we do has a lot to do with working with school children. So we do a number of programs with the College of Education. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful way for young educators to get experience with school kids. And a site like this, it's an exciting way to learn and to teach and to learn about teaching.
So do you view these students as, are they like an internship? Or a volunteer, or?
Oh no, they're taking it, well, we do all the above, frankly.
Yeah.
We have students enrolled in credit classes,
mm-hmm.
Of which some of our staff are able to teach and be the instructors for in cooperation with the colleges that are reaching out to us to say, please help us deliver this kind of content. We have students that are coming to us and doing internships, and so they're doing that hands-on practical experience. A nice mix with our RPTM department folks is students that do the seed semester. Students engaged in experiential discovery, and they're taking all 18 credits for the semester at the center. And so we do that every spring for that department. And that's a fun way for those students to have as integrated into our programming as you can possibly get during the course of a semester, as well as taking academic classes totaling 18 credits.
And it might be a student that walks out the door and helps a family or something, yeah?
In full disclosure, I was a Penn State student back in the 90s, and one of my friends was taking what was used to be the seed, or was block semester at the time, but is now seed, and said, hey, you need to go check out the Shavers Creek place. You'd really like it. And so the first day I walked in, the animal care director at the time said, all right, cut these mice in half. And turns out 16 years later, I was able to come back and direct that program. But that really gave me that kickstart in my career to make the connections, to go out and work for the Audubon Society and other organizations, and then come back and give back to the students. So it's really neat because I see myself in a lot of these students.
Yeah, then nothing beats real experiences, does it?
Yep.
And if it catches with your interest, all of a sudden you have a career.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to have it be.
And that's really what we can provide. Talking with a lot of the professors on campus with wildlife or animal science, they might be discussing a lot of theory or things in the classroom, but we have the opportunity to really give them that hands-on experience to let those lessons become strongly reinforced.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So this, of course, now starts to define a connection to the university, but it's not the only connection to the university. What else goes on that links what the university is doing with Shavers Creek?
A lot of wonderful things, which is really nice to say. So we're housed in outreach and online education.
Right.
And focused primarily on the outreach side of that.
Right.
And so we're doing lots of community engagement. Our school programs are working with school children both from Mifflin County School District, Huntington Area School District, Juniata Valley School District, and of course...
Is that all free for them?
No, actually. But it's at a greatly reduced cost.
Yeah.
And so we know that those schools have plenty enough challenges as it is to raise the money for the bus, never mind raising the money for the actual programming.
Right.
And so we're doing our best to work cooperatively with them and trying to find ways to not only get them out to the center, but to enrich their curriculum. And so we have the staff that works, our full-time staff is able to work closely on curriculum items. And so that's a wonderful level of community engagement that we're really proud of.
So I interrupted you there when you were talking about all the connections to the university.
Sure. The other things that are important to the university have become very important to us as well. Stewarding our planet's resources is a really easy, natural fit. And to do that, then indeed, we're helping to teach classes on an academic level. But we're also helping a lot with the graduate students. We host 5 graduate students on site, and then we're probably advising and helping another 10 or more across the colleges with different aspects of their graduate student research. We're partnering with a number of different faculty members on different angles of their research as well. Very often, it's not the great big shiny NSF multi-million-dollar grant, but it's very often the, here's the steps you can take to get to learn how to collect the data for that much larger grant. And so we're a field lab for the faculty as well.
All right, so can you describe what some of the graduate students are doing or have done, or the faculty have been doing or are doing?
It's wonderfully wide-ranging. Let's see, where could we start? Teal just presented with us, and she's in the College of Ag, and looking at the economic benefits as well as trying to learn the biochemistry of ramps, and as a plant product and as a food product, and what is the chemistry in it that makes it such a tasty food item, and yet it's part onion and part garlic, and we don't even know totally what the chemistry is behind that. And yet there could be an industry in the state around collecting and harvesting ramps.
And so is the reason why someone picks you is because it's a natural environment?
Indeed. So
they could do ramps somewhere else, they could do it in a greenhouse, they could do it, but you're a natural environment, so that's where they want to start.
It is, and then we have the natural connection there too is Eric Burkhardt is on staff. He's probably one of the leading experts in the country on ginseng, and he's been on this program with you before and is able to say then as an expert, he can lend expertise to a graduate student studying a very related topic.
Yeah, interesting. So what other topics are going on there? That's fascinating.
There is. Oh, we are looking at a number of different things with our outdoor school program, which is a residential 5th grade program, and how students learn in the outdoors. And what are they learning? And is it a positive benefit? One research project was in partnership with the Leave No Trace organization out of Colorado, and talking to students about what can you pick up and take and what should you leave? And part of that interest and part of that funding came from the National Park Service, who has a great interest in people taking things out of their parks. And where does that come from, that motivation to find something
And collect it.
And say, look what I found, versus look what I found.
And put it in your pocket.
And go home.
Yeah,
Where does that come from?
This whole take only a picture, leave only a footprint, you're taking that type of research is...
That kind of programming is embedded in our outdoor school program. We do a now and then lesson. The kids investigate about life in our valley in the middle of the 1800s when it was settled. And they find things that we've planted for them that helps tell the story of the early settlers, pieces of pottery, square nails. And the kids get excited to show it. And we videotape the event for the research. And some kids go, wow, cool. And
want to put it in the...
And put it in their pocket. Other kids say, wow, cool, and automatically share. What is going, why did that happen? Human nature is wonderful in that regard.
Geology undergrad, if someone told me I couldn't collect rocks, I don't know what I would do.
Right. Or seashells. Or
it's a natural thing to say, aha,
isn't it?
I found it.
And so things like that are parts of the research that we can, again, It's not a nationwide study, but you got to learn to figure out how to collect the data. How do you ask the questions? How do you analyze that data? To do it on our scale is a great step, again, as a field lab for larger, potentially larger.
So one other thing that I would love to know, and maybe a lot of people would love to know, is, okay, you've got all this programming, your doors are open, you're welcoming, but there must be a side of it. Can I get involved?
Sure.
Is there a way to get, so how does that work?
I'll let you go first.
Sure. If you go to our website, one of the our newly designed website has a tab that says support on it. If you go down there, there's a volunteer option. And so we have a couple different pathways. You can volunteer as an individual, and that may be for something like the animal care program, which is really, kind of catered toward development of that specific person. But we also have some group volunteer options. So a lot of times, Greek Life or other student orientation or other organizations will come out and do like a cleanup day or help with a trail building project. And so the support tab at the website, shaverscreek.org, is the best place for that information.
Great. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it sounds like that if you've never been, you've got to go.
I hope
and
so.
if you were there 10 years ago, you better go back because
right.
it's different.
Sure.
All right, so step back. What will it look like in a decade?
Hopefully very much the same. We just spent a lot of money on a very nice facility. And so we wanted to be looking about the same. We think we did a good job of capturing a building and a landscape that match. And
it's beautiful.
And we'd like to think that we can maintain the landscape as well as the building in a way that would really be like this for a long time to come, more than 10 years, hopefully a generation to come.
Well, that's wonderful. It's so nice to have the two of you here. It's a wonderful place. I took my kids there many, many times, and grandchildren next. Yep. And thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Support for Digging Deeper comes from the Penn State Alumni Association. Connecting alumni to the university and to each other, the Alumni Association is powered by pride. Learn more at alumni.psu.edu. And from viewers like you, thank you.